7:30, they'll be introducing that team of the century. We hope you will join us. We'll have the coverage starting at 7:30. Big high cut by Maddox. Maddox, Williams, and Boone do up. Strikeout victim, Maddox. 2 base runners for Atlanta. That's been it. Jones, Andrew Jones got a walk, and the home run by Chipper Jones. And that's been enough so far for Maddox.
Mike Schmidt was a member of the only Philadelphia Philly World Championship team back in 1980.
1 ball, 2 strike count.
I said Hall of Famer to be. I don't know where I've been. He's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in there. Yeah. Book it. 1-2. Sidearm stuff. 10 strikeouts in the ball game. So his career postseason high is 10. That's what he's got right now in K's.
This might be the best fastball that El Duque's had in the postseason, maybe during the whole season. And I had talked to him in the past about pitching in cold weather. You would expect that hadn't really experienced that much growing up in Cuba. But he said that when the Cuban national team would travel, that he would pitch in colder weather in certain places, and it doesn't bother him. As you can see tonight, it certainly hasn't.
They played a lot of games in Canada because Canada was more receptive to having the Cuban national team there. It get pretty cool.
Does it get cold in Canada?
Slightly. Certain times of the year. A chopper down to first base. Hernandez the tag. He got him. Williams retired. He's 0 for 3.
What you will see tonight from these two pitchers, they are both excellent fielders. El Duque, when he was growing up, wanted to be a shortstop. His dad said, no, you're going to be a pitcher. Maybe his dad had the best decision. We don't know how well he could hit, but I think his dad steered him in the right direction like most fathers do. Here he is bouncing off the mound. He'll make the tag unassisted on Gerald Williams as he goes by.
Williams slightly out of the base paths. Brett Boone coming up. A strikeout victim a couple of times already in this game. 2 down, nobody on. Jorge Posada going out to have a word with Orlando Hernandez. These two pitchers are dominating this game. It is not a night to be at the beach. If you are, you better have your parka or whatever your heavy-duty winter wear is.
As you can see, a lot of standing room only here at Turner Field.
Sold out, of course, the seats, and then they sell standing room only tickets. Brett Boone, base is empty, 2 away. Wow. Could have swung twice on that one. Strike 1 on the off-speed pitch to Boone. That's a lifeguard. Fine inside work.
Everybody out of the pool.
Unless it's heated. Foul back by Boone, and another 2-strike count.
El Duque's kind of had his ways with Gerald Williams and Brett Boone. They are 0 for 5 between them with 4 strikeouts.
Pretty much had his way with this lineup. 0-2 delivery. And up high. Postseason, it gets harder and harder to pick up runs. Braves hitting just .257 in the postseason coming into this. The Yankees .237 in the postseason. 1-2 delivery. Did he go? Check it first. No. Come back, boys. Players that started off the field, but Rocky Rose said he didn't go.
Well, let's take a look. I don't know, Rocky. Went down the wrong road that time. It looked like he swung at it to me.
I agree. 2-2 to Boone. The short. Jeter. Jeter was probably the most surprised person on the field. He actually got a ground ball. He'd been watching all the strikeouts go by. We've completed 6. Game 1. Braves 1. Yankees nothing. A 1-0 lead for Atlanta. Game 1 of the '99 World Series. Recap on this one is all about pitching. First inning. El Duque came on and struck the side out, including that one to Chipper Jones. He struck the side out again in the 3rd inning, but then Chipper Jones in the 4th, the home run. 1-0 lead. Jeter down. Maddox and El Duque locked up in a real pitcher's duel. 1-1-0 for Atlanta, 0-3-0 for New York. Maddox has retired 12 of the last 13 he's faced, and El Duque has 1 walk and 10 strikeouts. That's how the Braves win.
They are dealing with pitching.
Maddox will go to work here against Bernie Williams, cleanup batter. And then Martinez and Jorge Posada. Ball 1 to Williams.
One reason why Bernie Williams had such a career year in hits, career highs in runs, RBIs, and walks, because he stayed healthy this year. Played in a career high 158 games. In years past, there's been one stretch or another during the course of the year where Bernie's been on the disabled list with an injury, but that was not the case this year, and he came through big time in those categories.
Bundling up here. That is a biting cold wind. Foul back. A 2-ball 1-strike count.
The Yankees box score, as you can see, Jeter's had a hit, and Brosius has had a couple. All 3 are singles. Tino Martinez has drawn a walk, and Orlando Hernandez, the pitcher, has been dropped in a sacrifice, but there has been nothing else against Greg Maddux.
2 in scoring position for New York, left stranded. Maddox wanted that one and just missed.
You heard him say in the open about the Yankee hitters. They have good eyes at the plate. They don't swing at many bad pitches. Bernie Williams taking one. You can see it catches the plate, but just a little bit too low to be called a strike. You can see the movement on it. It's sinking, and Bernie takes it.
And a walk. First 3-ball count Maddox has had. The second walk he has surrendered. He thought he should have had the strike on the pitch before. So a leadoff walk. He walked Martinez to start the second inning, then got a double play. Bobby Cox is unhappy with a call by Randy Marsh on that at bat on balls and strikes.
Are managers ever happy with a leadoff walk?
No. So he's already, Maddox is already a half a walk over his average for 9 innings. Here's Tino Martinez. Strike taken. Martinez, the walk, and is flied out.
This would be a good trivia question. Now, we all know that Mark McGwire has driven in a lot of runs the last 5 years. In fact, for first baseman, he has driven in the most. Which first baseman in major leagues has driven in the second most?
Let's guess. Martinez fouls it off.
That's the guy who just hit that ball. Tino Martinez, the last 5 years, has driven in 587 runs. Just 13 less than Mark McGwire.
Boy, that's a big number. Martinez, a .275 career hitter. Greg Maddux working on him here with nobody out, and Williams on. A 1-0 lead for the Braves in game 1.
After walking Bernie Williams, he comes right back on Tino Martinez, and the count is no balls and 2 strikes.
Martinez 1 for 15 lifetime off Maddox. That one is outside. 1-2.
Tino is another one of those Yankee hitters that falls into the patient category. And I think that Greg Maddux is well aware that he's going to have to throw him strikes more or less to get him to swing. The pitch that Tino chases is a low sinker. He'll chase that every once in a while. He's a good high fastball hitter, but Maddux just doesn't throw too many of them. Bernie's trying to get the track straightened out in case he wants to take off for second.
He has stolen 4 bases in the postseason and not been caught. 1 ball 2 strike count. Infield a double play depth for Maddux. And that one off the mask of Eddie Perez. That knocked him backward a couple of steps.
That was a mistake pitch by Greg Maddux. It was more towards the middle of the plate. Tino Martinez had a good swing at it. Good swing, but fouled off the mask of Perez. I can't believe when baseball started, catchers didn't wear masks. That was over 100 years ago. They've learned since.
Yes. Lob throw over. Klesko had to dig that one out.
Because when you became a catcher, it was like being an endangered species in those days.
Once you started catching, your career was over. He's a third baseman, Bobby Cox. There goes Williams. Down low, no throw, stolen base. So the Yankees get a runner down to second here in the 7th inning with nobody out. 5 for 5 in stolen bases for Bernie Williams this postseason.
Well, you have to put the pressure on the defense because Greg Maddux is not going to give up many hits, certainly not many in a row. Good changeup and a tough pitch to throw on for Eddie Perez, and couldn't come up with it cleanly. Couldn't get it out of the glove, and Bernie Williams picks up the easy steal.
RBI chance now. Martinez. Ball dropped. He's going to hold the runner at second. Perez does. Over to Klesko. Strikeout put up for the catcher. 4 strikeouts for Maddux. And a big strikeout right there.
Now remember what I was talking about, the low pitch that Tino Martinez will fish for every once in a while. Extra sink on that one, and he swung over the top and missed it for strike 3. And Eddie Perez checks the runner to make sure Bernie Williams doesn't advance, and then throws over the first for the out. Look at him look at Bernie Williams, knowing he has time before throwing the first to get Tino Martinez. Once a ball hits in the dirt on a swinging strike 3, the ball is alive. The hitter is still alive until thrown out at first. In certain instances, not all the time, but certain times.
Jorge Posada. That's the trouble with trying to explain rules. It's the exceptions.
There are subtle rules, and one of them being if first base is already occupied, the runner can't go. But it wasn't occupied in this entry. The hitter can't run the first.
Even players forget that at times.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see catchers not sure when somebody's at first whether they have to throw down there in a strike 3 in the dirt or not. Bernie Williams on at second base, 1 away. Jorge Posada 0 for 2. 1 strike pitch to him, popped up shallow center. Walt Weiss, the shortstop. Seems as though Maddux gets even tougher with runners on base. 2 down. Yankees 0 for 5 against Maddux with runners in scoring position tonight. Joe Torre's telling Kenny and I before the game, the thing I worry about most is thinking far enough ahead in these games where there's no designated hitter. He's got Mendoza up.
Well, he's getting down to the pitcher spot in the batting order. And with him trailing, the Yankees are trailing 1-0. He's going to have to go to the bench.
Ricky Leday trying to come up with a big hit. Pops that one up. Klesko over and will not have a play.
Well, the wind really grabbed that one and rushed it back into the seats. Ricky Leday is a young hitter. Had some success this year. Started off slowly with the Yankees, and as we check out the flag and it blowing very briskly from left to right, was sent to the minor leagues, got his act together, and came back swinging the bat very well. But one thing he does not have, and I'm sure that Greg Maddux is well aware of, he doesn't have real great plate discipline.
Leday out of Puerto Rico, 68 starts, most of them in left field for the Yankees. Fans are up for one reason, hoping for a strikeout, for the second to get the blood flowing. 2 down. Williams at second base.
It was interesting, Gary, because last year this time during the World Series, the Yankees playing San Diego, and Joe Torre made a decision to start Ricky Leday in left field, and everybody wondered why would he put him out there, because he hadn't played in quite a while. Joe said, well, nobody else has really grabbed a hold. Ricky Leday hit 600 in the World Series last year.
And Maddux gets him. Strikeouts for Greg Maddux. We are seeing a vintage performance by the 4-time Cy Young Award winner Greg Maddux. There is Chipper Jones. He has delivered the 1 hit in this game for Atlanta.
Let's go back to the first inning. Call strike 3 on a fastball in the inside corner. In the 4th inning, El Duque tried to come to the same place. Didn't work. Chipper Jones is looking for it, but you saw If we can see that again, Jorge Posada was set up outside. He was looking for a pitch outside. El Duque missed the target, and Chipper Jones hit a homer. Here it is. See the fastball inside the first inning? The pitch is designed to be right there. In the fourth inning, Posada has to reach for the ball. In other words, he missed the target, and Chipper Jones homers.
And that's right now the only run in the game. And up high, ball one. Orlando Hernandez, now in the bottom of the seventh inning, has pitched at least 7 innings and allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in each of his 6 career postseason starts. At least 7 and 2 or fewer runs in all 6 postseason games he's appeared in his career. Inside, ball 3 to Chipper Jones.
In fact, he's the only pitcher in World Series history to do that.
And he walked him on 4 straight. Second walk given up. This is a leadoff walk in the 7th inning. Joe Torre has to make decisions. There you see the international presence.
Cuban-born World Series pitchers Orlando Hernandez, his half-brother Levon, Marcelino Lopez, a reliever, Camilo Pascual, a great curveball, Luis Tiant, great everything, Mike Cuellar with the Orioles, good left-hander, Diego Seguia, a relief pitcher, and long time ago, Dolph Luque.
Brian Jordan up. Chop Shop's going to work here. The Atlanta fans with their chant. Runner goes. Hit and run on. Foul back.
Bobby Cox trying to get an extra run on the board, some insurance, having the runner go, and Brian Jordan, who you wouldn't think was a hit and run man, trying to get something going here.
Looking at those pitchers, Kenny, fans might be interested. Mike Cuellar started more World Series games than any non-U.S. pitcher. 6. Levon Hernandez, Jose Rio, and Luis Tiant, all 2-0 in World Series play. Levon Hernandez, the brother, of course, of El Duque. El Duque's 1-0 in World Series starts. Throw over this time to keep Chipper Jones leaning back towards the bag.
Mike Cuellar, a member of the great Baltimore Oriole teams in the late 60s and early 70s. In fact, 3 years in a row, they won over 100 games to get to the World Series.
0-1 count on Brian Jordan. Runner not going. Lifted in the air to short. That one's hauled in easily by Jeter, and Jordan is retired. This copyrighted telecast, the property of the Office of the Commissioner of Major League Baseball, intended for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited.
There is the commissioner looking through the binoculars at the worldwide scope of baseball. Bud Selig.
He's used to this kind of weather. He's from Milwaukee, where it gets a little cool in the fall. Susie, his wife, sitting next to him there. Some warm liquid. Brian Klesko, runner at first base and 1 down. And another pop-up. Third base. Brocious. 2 down. These two pitchers really dominating these lineups. Each of them tougher with runners on.
There's another pop-up. And Klesko checks his bat. It looks like he broke it. Big swing and not much to show for it.
Now there are 2 down. Chipper Jones still on at first base. Andrew Jones coming up. Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach, giving a close eye on Orlando Hernandez. He's still mowing him down. Andrew Jones, a walk and is lined out. 2 for 5 lifetime off Hernandez with 1 home run. Atlanta hitters just cannot stay off that pitch.
Particularly the right-handed hitters have had a bad night with the breaking ball. Different angles, different speeds for El Duque.
Mike Stanton and Jeff Nelson now in the bullpen for the Yankees.
Nelson is the tall right-hander.
0-1. Runner goes. Going to take it. Throw down. Jorge Posada got him. Chipper Jones caught stealing. Jorge Posada put that one right on the money. Knobloch was there and laid the tag on, and that will do it in the 7th inning. No runs, no hits, and nobody left on. Chipper Jones trying to steal a base. Watch this throw. Jorge Posada laid it right into the glove. Heck of a ball game. Game 1 of the '99 World Series. A 1-0 Atlanta lead on the Chipper Jones home run. And El Duque is probably done for the night, Kenny.
Well, it looks like he understands the situation. They need some runs.
Greg Maddux, and a leadoff base hit by Scott Brocious. So Brocious, a perfect night. He's 3 for 3, and he's led off 2 innings with a single. 4 hits now off Greg Maddux.
Brocious has had a single to right, a single to center, and now a single to left. And this is the final of the 3. Looked like a breaking ball out over the plate. He went down and got it with a base hit, and the crowd reaction to the next hitter who comes to the plate.
Darryl Strawberry has been announced as the pinch hitter for Orlando Hernandez, a former member of the New York Mets, well known to Atlanta fans, and he has seen a lot of Greg Maddux. He is 7 for 42 off Maddux, but 3 of the 7 hits have been home runs. You see the shift on.
That's Chipper Jones playing shortstop. That's a third baseman. The right side of the infield has 3 of the Braves infielders. Walt Weiss, Brett Boone, and of course Brian Hunter now playing first base, holding Brocious on.
Maddux to Strawberry, and takes it inside, 2-0.
Trying to keep the ball in on Strawberry with those long arms. Try and keep him from extending and getting his power stroke. Still one of the most dangerous swings in baseball.
Brian Hunter's in at first base for Klesko. Down low, 3-0. Maddux being very careful here against Darryl Strawberry. There are the career numbers off Greg Maddux. All those at bats coming. Strawberry played for the Mets, and Maddux is pitching here in Atlanta.
Yeah, Strawberry made no bones about it. He wanted to have a Subway Series, have the Yankees take on the Mets. Of course, he's the guy who's hit more home runs in the history of Shea Stadium than any other player.
3-0 delivery, and a fastball in there. He has struggled with drug recovery programs on and off in his career. Did again this year. Didn't get many games in this season with the Yankees. Only 24 games and 49 at-bats. But he hit 3 home runs. 3-1 delivery to Strawberry. Inside, he walked him. So Maddux has given up 3 walks, and the Yankees here in the 8th inning have 2 runners on and nobody out.
And if Joe Torre decides to bunt here to move the runners along, as we look at ball 4 to Strawberry, he has a pretty good bunter up there in Chuck Knobloch. First time in the game that the Yankees have had 2 men on in an inning. As Straw gets congratulated as he gives way to a pinch runner.
Chad Curtis will run at first base for Darryl Strawberry. So a big chance for the Yankees. 1-0 Atlanta, 8th inning. Runners at first and second, Brocious and Chad Curtis. Knobloch 0 for 3. They're looking for the bunt, and it's foul back. They were charging from first and third.
Of course, here's where Greg Maddux comes into play as a fielder. We mentioned he's a 9-time Gold Glove winner. The Gold Glove is awarded to a player at that position who is deemed to be the best fielding player of that season. And Maddux has won the award 9 times. He's very quick off the mound, and it gives the Braves an advantage here. Scott Brosius at second. Pretty good runner. I wouldn't say he's not nearly the fastest Yankee.
Squares again. A perfect bunt. Hunter's got to throw. Can't do it. Bases loaded. Greg Maddux thought he would bunt towards third base, so he broke towards third. Knobloch bunted the other way. It'll be a sacrifice and an error on Hunter.
Knobloch will push the ball almost directly between Maddux. You can see him breaking to the right, then back to the left. He is effectively, by his quickness, taking himself out of position. It's up to Hunter to recover, make the play. He does glove it, but then drops the ball, trying to make the throw. So as Gary said, it will go as a sacrifice. No time at bat charge of Knobloch, and an error on the Braves' first baseman, who ironically came in for defensive purposes.
How about that? Jeter. And he fouls it off, so the Yankees have it right where they would want it. The middle of the order with the bases loaded and nobody out, with Atlanta leading it 1-0. Derek Jeter, 5 for 19 during the regular season with the bases loaded, did not have a grand slam. Fouls that one off, and a 2-strike count. Maddux in about as big a hole as you can get in here in game 1.
Now this is the inning for the Yankees. They have done nothing else against Greg Maddux. This is where, if they're going to win the game, they're going to win it here in the 8th inning.
0-2 delivery. Wanted the strikeout. Didn't get the call. Brought Bobby Cox up off the bench.
The strikeout is almost imperative here for Maddux because it'll set up a double play to get him out of the inning with O'Neill the next hitter. You can see that was definitely low and away.
1 ball, 2-strike delivery. Jeter swings, base hit into left field. Brosius will score. Curtis will stop. And the game is tied at 1 as Derek Jeter delivers the RBI single off Maddux. And the Yankees have tied it in the 8th inning. Jeter gets his 4th postseason RBI.
Jeter with the smash through the hole. Looked like Maddux tried to come inside one more time. Jeter was ready for it. The base hit. Willie Randolph made a quick decision to hold Curtis at third. Curtis is a good runner, but Gerald Williams has a strong arm. The throw is cut off, and with nobody out, you don't take any chances. So the Yankees still have the bases loaded and nobody out. There's a reaction on the Yankee bench to the Jeter base hit that has tied this game.
And has knocked Greg Maddux out of the ball game. So Orlando Hernandez, who went 7 innings, gave up 1 run on 1 hit, walked 2 and struck out 10. Held him to just 1, and the Yankees get back at Maddux and the Atlanta Braves here in the 8th inning, and bases are still loaded.
It's Total Football with the Dutch League on Orbit ESPN. The mighty Ajax are unbeaten this season as they set their sights on regaining the title with a team full of international stars. But new boys Den Bosch are finding things tough at the top. Ajax and Den Bosch, Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. on Orbit ESPN.
Derek Jeter, who has tied this game up with a bases-loaded single. 1-1 in the 8th inning. And Bobby Cox goes to his closer, wanting a strikeout. John Rocker.
Yeah, this is one of the best strikeout pitchers. You can see what he's done in postseason. 14 strikeouts in 10 innings. Strikeouts, what they do, they freeze everybody while you're picking up outs. So you don't want the ball put in play here, because the Yankees could score on a fly ball, sacrifice fly, even a ground ball. Might be able to get a run in. So he's looking for the strikeout. O'Neill did not hit well against left-handed pitching this year. Something he's done a lot better in the past. He was 190 against left-handers during the regular season.
319 off right-handers, so a big difference. The infield is in. They'll try and make a play at the plate on a ground ball. Bases loaded. Nobody out. Game tied at 1. O'Neill was grounded out, struck out, and flied out. 96-mile-an-hour fastball from John Rocker.
On that first pitch, O'Neill's thinking, boy, he's really got to make a mistake for me to hit the ball hard, because he's blasting it up there 96 miles an hour. It's almost as if you think the key hitter for the Yankees this inning will be the man on deck.
Paul O'Neill 7 for 21 with the bases loaded, including 1 grand slam. There's Williams on deck.
Bernie, of course, a switch hitter.
0-1. Rocker missed with it. 1-1. Just as anticipated here in game 1, a pitcher's duel, a 1-1 game in the 8th. No reason to believe most of the games in this series won't look a lot like this.
The outs are becoming very precious now. You get to the latter stages of the game.
Inside with heat, falls behind, 2-ball, 1-strike count.
This is the key pitch for Rocker. That was 97, but out of the strike zone. If he goes to 3-1, it's almost as if O'Neill can gamble that he'll throw a ball before he can throw 2 strikes. So he wants his pitch to be a strike. Even if you have to throw it right down the middle, you just rely on the velocity to throw it right by Paul O'Neill.
O'Neill's faced Rocker twice, 0 for 2. 2-1 delivered. Whoa! Goes all the way to the backstop. Nobody's going to move. That ball was thrown so hard, and Perez got none of it, that it ricocheted off the padded backstop halfway back to home plate. Chad Curtis couldn't go.
A good observation, because he didn't put a glove on it. If he does, he might have slowed it down, and it wouldn't have that rebound off the backstop all the way back, and the Yankees would have gotten a run. Watch Curtis. He thinks about it and says no. Good decision by Chad Curtis. But here's the situation. Paul O'Neill, unless his pitch is right down the middle to his liking, you got to figure he's going to take. I think the Rocker now has to throw 2 strikes. If he throws the ball, the Yankees have a go-ahead run. And O'Neill, like a lot of the veteran Yankee hitters, well, there's actually something on the field. And it, this throws Rocker off his rhythm.
Big pitch right here. No place to put Paul O'Neill. Yankees battling back to tie it now with a chance to go on top. Any runs scored here go to Orlando Hernandez. 3-ball, 1-strike count. Infield drawn in. O'Neill hits it, and a base hit into right field. Curtis scores. It'll be a 2 RBI single. Throw cut off over to third. Bouncing away, O'Neill will go to second. And the Yankees have a 3-1 lead. Curtis and Knobloch score. A 2 RBI, bases loaded single for Paul O'Neill.
There is still nobody out, and the Yankees have moved runners to second and third. There's a swing, pitch inside, pretty good pitch to hit, and with the infield drawn in, not much range for the infielders. Right on by Boone for the base hit. Jeter watching the runners in front of him, an excellent base runner. You don't score 134 runs without knowing how to run the bases. There he goes to third. The throw gets away. O'Neill moves up, and now with runners at second and third, Bernie Williams will not get a chance to hit, as you might expect. They're going to walk him to reload the bases with nobody out.
O'Neill now with 3 RBIs in the postseason. He had only 1 run batted in coming into this World Series. Williams will load him up again as he'll draw the intentional pass. All happening here in the 8th inning. Rocker with the intentional pass surrendered. So bases loaded again, and still nobody out. 3 runs in.
Gary on this base hit that will score 2 runs. O'Neill will be credited with 2 runs batted in. As you can see, it split the difference between the first baseman and the second baseman. But as the play moves on, the throw to the plate is cut off by Brian Hunter, the first baseman. Hunter cuts it off, throws to third. The throw is low, gets away. O'Neill goes to second. So Hunter is charged with his second error this inning. And remember, he came in for defensive purposes. So Brian Hunter has been a big part of this inning, although he's supposed to be in there for defense.
2 errors. 3-1 lead. 6 hits now for the Yankees. They are doing this without an extra base hit. All singles in the game. Strawberry came on as a pinch hitter and drew a walk after the leadoff single by Scott Brocious. Tito Martinez now with the bases loaded and the infield drawn in.
Randy Marsh, the home plate umpire, telling Rocker to put the rosin bag on the backside of the mound. A hitter can see that and it come into his field of vision.
Timeout again taken at first base this time. Rocky Rowe calling it as Bernie Williams getting rid of a protector down there. 1 strikeout, 7 grand slams for the Yankees during the regular season. Tito Martinez had one of them.
He hit one in last year's World Series off of Mark Langston at Yankee Stadium. Was a turning point in Game 1.
Takes that one for a strike on the inside corner. Yankees with a chance to blow this game wide open with a 3-1 lead, nobody out, and the bases still loaded. Maddox out of the game, runs charged to him. 0-2 delivery. Rocker got him. One down. That'll allow the infield to back up at least at second and short.
Here's the breaking ball that strikes out Tito Martinez, and you can see that Rocker, once he got ahead 0-2, could afford to really expand the strike zone and struck him out. Another subtlety for the Yankee batting order. Following each left-handed hitter is a switch hitter, so it doesn't give Bobby Cox the opportunity to bring in Rocker and face like 4 left-handed hitters in a row. Jorge Posada jumps over to the right side, which is his strong side.
Swings and misses on that one. Posada, bases loaded, 1 away. He hit .303 right-handed and just .225 left. 12 home runs, 8 of them were hit left-handed, 4 right-handed. Skinny said Joe Torre spreading it out. And the fastball misses. 1 ball, 1 strike count on Jorge Posada. Jeter, the lead runner at third. Still the responsibility of Maddox. O'Neill and Williams at second and first respectively.
There's Scott Brocious, who started it all off with a single.
1-1 came inside, 2-1.
And I'm thinking back to what we were talking about earlier about the depth of the Yankee lineup. When you have somebody like Scott Brocious batting 8th, he's a pretty darn good hitter. He was the MVP of last year's World Series, and he drove in 98 runs a year ago. That's a pretty good number 8 hitter. This year he only drove in 71, but there were extenuating circumstances with his father being very ill, and he finally passed away a few weeks ago.
3 for 3 for Brocious tonight. 2-1 delivery down low. Rocker's worked himself into another hole. Bases loaded again.
Same thing that applies to Posada as it did to Paul O'Neill with a 3-1 count and the bases loaded. You're almost looking for a pitch right where you want it, because if Rocker throws a strike, he's still going to have to throw another one to strike you out.
He got it there. 3-2 taken.
Good pitcher's pitch, low and away for a strike.
8th man up in the inning for the Yankees. 3-1 lead. Torre talking to his batting coach, Chris Chambliss. 3-2 count. Rocker got him. A call, 3rd strike, and he took something off that pitch.
There's no way I would have been looking for anything other than a fastball with John Rocker on the mound, and he comes through with a 3-2 breaking ball and freezes. Wouldn't take much tonight, but it freezes Jorge Posada for call strike 3. Wow, what a pitch. Takes a lot of guts to do this. Your number 1 pitcher's your fastball, but he throws a breaking ball and gets the outside corner for call strike 3.
There it was. Could not crank up on that one. So there are 2 down, bases loaded, and Jimmy Leyritz is announced to the booze as the pinch hitter.
Well, the Atlanta fans remember him from the 1996 World Series.
Only a couple of at-bats in this postseason. Leyritz with the sacks full. Rocker trying to get out of this without further damage. 3 runs in for the Yankees here in the 8th. Leyritz on a check swing, 1 around, I think. Yes.
Here's a flashback to 1996, the turning point of that World Series. Game 4, the Yankees were down 2 games to 1. A 3-run homer by Leyritz ties the score on a slider from Mark Wohlers. The Yankees won that game, and they won the next 2.
1 strike count. Leyritz strike 2 on a heater. Well, this is what Bobby Cox brought Rocker in for. He gave up the 2 RBI single to O'Neill, but he's got a chance to get out of it here, leaving the bases full if he can get another strikeout.
And he will have gotten what Bobby Cox wanted, but maybe a little late. It would be 3 strikeouts in a row if he can strike out Leyritz.
Inside with that, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Another fastball at 98 miles an hour.
7 postseason home runs in 26 postseason games for Jimmy Leyritz. Bases loaded, 1-2 delivery. Down low, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Once again, Rocker faced with a situation where you want to make the decision pitch right here. You don't want to go to 3 balls and 2 strikes. You know, a lot of variables, a walk, maybe you take something off to get the ball over and the hitter will get a hit. So he wants to get him out with his best stuff right here. Two down.
Rocker to Leyritz. Whoa. Home plate umpire Randy Marsh jerked his right shoulder but did not bring the arm up, and the count is 3-2.
Once again, Rocker goes to the breaking ball to get the strike, and adds just a hair low. Just a little bit low, and the count is full. Rocker starts walking off the mound thinking he's got the job done. He's got 1 more pitch to throw, at least 1 more.
No place to put him. 3-2, 2 down. Jeter, O'Neill, and Williams on the bases. And ball 4, walked in a run. And Rocker can't believe the last 2 calls. Neither can Bobby Cox. Leyritz will be credited with an RBI on a bases loaded walk. And a 4-1 Yankee lead.
2 breaking balls in a row, 3-2. Not going to the fastball, which that's low. That's ball 4. The last 2 pitches were low, and you wonder with Rocker, a guy who throws 98 miles an hour, and Leyritz did not make contact with any pitches during that at bat. Why is he going to the breaking ball?
Scott Brocious, 3 for 3, 10th man up in the inning. He started this inning with a single. Bobby Cox yamming to the home plate umpire Randy Marsh.
The only thing I can think of, maybe Leyritz's reputation preceded him. Although in the 1996 World Series he hit a slider for a home run. It wasn't the fastball, which was Mark Wohlers' best pitch at the time.
This situation, Kenny, you just got to bring what brought you here, don't you?
Exactly. I mean, when you throw 98, that gives me a lot of confidence that they're not going to be able to hit it, not hit it hard. This is not the time to go to tricks.
Brocious, 1 ball, 2 strike count, 2 on. 4 runs charged to Maddox. Just 2 of them earned because there have been 2 errors in this inning. Outside with that, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Remember early in the game we were talking about how the lineups are set up with Brocious, then the pitcher spot, and then Knobloch and Jeter. Each of them have had a role in this inning. Brocious started it off. Knobloch got on with the bunt and the error, and Jeter had a single that drove in a tying run. I really felt the Yankee lineup turns over a lot better It has a lot more punch near the bottom than the Braves line.
And Rocker takes it to 3-2 again. 29 pitches already thrown by Rocker, coming on in relief of Greg Maddux in the 8th inning.
This has to be a fastball. If I'm Eddie Perez, I keep that number 1 down until he throws it.
3-2. Runners go. Strike him out. So indeed he does strike out the side, but in between the strikeouts, the Yankees come up with 4 runs in the 8th inning. An RBI single by Jeter, a 2 RBI single by O'Neill, and a bases loaded walk to Leyritz. 2 of the runs unearned. Yankees up 4-1. Back here at Turner Field, the Yankees coming up with a big 8th inning, have taken a 4-1 lead here in Game 1 of the 1999 World Series, leaving the bases loaded but getting it done. Now 6 outs away from taking the W. Our aerial views are courtesy of Goodyear. Overhead, Goodyear's blimp, the Stars and Stripes, based out of Pompano Beach, Florida. And the pilot tonight, Dick Esch, providing the great signs from on high.
Mariano Rivera joins the Yankees.
Well, we'll go to the bullpen now. Joe Torre has said this series is going to belong to the bullpens, figuring the starters are going to kind of even each other up. Well, here's Mr. Nelson.
Well, the Yankees have actually 4 strong relievers, Nelson being one of them, along with Mike Stanton, the left-hander, who has a former Brave, by the way. And they also have Ramiro Mendoza, who's done an excellent job, and then the closer, Mariano Rivera, who's been, to say the least, outstanding.
Now, all of a sudden, you look at the Atlanta side of your score sheet, and you go, there isn't anything there. A Chipper Jones home run. Showing bunt, but taking all the way. Chad Curtis stays in the ball game, playing in left field.
Excellent defensive outfielder.
In for Leday. Andrew Jones has walked and lined out. Jeff Nelson's delivery, slider misses. 1 base runner left on by Atlanta in the 2nd inning. A walk to Andrew Jones. The homer by Chipper Jones, the only hit Atlanta's had. And a fastball right there, 1-2.
Jeff Nelson's delivery makes him the reason why Joe Torre likes to go to him when you have a string of right-handed hitters, and the Braves have 3 in this inning scheduled to hit. First of all, he's 6'7", and that slinging type motion, it makes a lot of right-handed hitters that left foot kind of give a little bit. Nelson has a good breaking ball, good movement on the fastball, but every once in a while his control will desert him.
32-year-old with a 2-2 delivery, and an off-speed pitch struck him out. Orlando Hernandez, who is the pitcher of record for New York, had 10 strikeouts as the starter. Now Nelson gets 1.
And here's that breaking ball I was talking about, and you can see Andrew Jones swings it, misses at the sweeping slider. Posada set up on the outside corner, and that's where he gets the ball.
38 appearances during the regular season for Nelson. As a setup man, a couple of times on the DL with a right elbow that bothered him. Had surgery on that elbow. Pitch is taken up high. Perez 1-0.
Between after last inning, you can see John Rocker's not happy. Where does he want? Yeah, where does he want me to throw the pitch? You can see he's not happy with the calls of Randy Marsh, the home plate umpire.
1-0 breaking ball. Slider outside. 2-0.
To show you, he's yelling at the umpire. Yeah, he's yelling at Randy Marsh. Showing you, yeah, Marsh looks over too. I'll remember you. Show you how amazing modern medical technology is. You said that Jeff Nelson had surgery this season and came back and pitched. Not only did he have the surgery, he was awake during the surgery. There was a local anesthetic in his arm, and he just watched the surgery on TV, just like, you know.
I think I would have switched channels.
Yeah.
2-1 delivered to Eddie Perez. That sweeping slider again outside. 3-1. Atlanta's got to find base runners now, and they've had only 3 in this game. And Orlando Hernandez, who didn't want to come out of the ball game, I think's mighty happy he did now. because he gave way to Strawberry, who Maddox was concerned about. Maddox walked him as a pinch hitter, helping to start that inning. Now Nelson gives up the 1-out walk to Eddie Perez.
Well, Mel Stoudemire, Yankee pitching coach, checking on the status of the bullpen, and he'll hear that Mike Stanton is warming up, and the closer, Mariano Rivera, getting up in the Yankee pen, and you would figure that Joe Torre might go to him here in the 8th inning if he feels the need to.
Bobby Cox is going to go to Ozzie Guillen, who will pinch hit for Walt Weiss and stay in the game probably at shortstop. Guillen up, runner on at first base, and with that we'll get a visit to the mound. Nelson looking over as Joe Torre will make his way out, and he will make the pitching change right here for the left-hander. So Nelson ends up working to only 2 hitters, a third of an inning, a strikeout and a walk. Nelson will come out of the ball game. Torre now concerned that Atlanta not be able to get that potential tying run to the plate. Stanton will come on in relief and be the 3rd Yankee pitcher, with the Yankees up 4-1.
There was no postseason in 1994, but he's been with the Atlanta Braves, the Boston Red Sox, the Texas Rangers, and now the Yankees for the last 3 seasons. And at one time, he was the closer for Bobby Cox. He was the man in charge of getting those final outs in tight situations.
Now he pitches to a pinch hitter for the pinch hitter. Jose Hernandez will pinch hit for Ozzie Guillen, who never got to the plate but was announced. Once you're announced by the home plate umpires being in the game you're in, even though you don't ever do anything. So Guillen goes right back to the bench, and with the 1 down, Perez on at first base. Jose Hernandez up and gets the pitch in for a strike. He will stay in the ball game and play at shortstop. 3 shortstops with Weiss, Guillen, and Hernandez, and they've now all of them now been in this game. Good pitch away from him quickly, 2-strike count.
Hernandez does have some power, but if he does have a weakness at the plate, he strikes out quite a bit. Stanton has a good curveball, fastball in the low 90s, and he also will throw a split finger pitch occasionally, use it more like a changeup.
2 deliveries down low. Mike Stanton in his 11th World Series game. He appeared in 5 games for Atlanta in '91 and 4 in '92 with the Braves, and then last year with New York worked in a game for 2/3 of an inning, and here he is back again. 1 ball, 2-strike count. Right off the mask of Jorge Posada, keeps it at 1-2 off the bat of Hernandez. Bobby Cox's club tried to milk that 1-0 lead behind Maddox. They did it through 7, but could not hold it in the 8th.
You know, Gary, one thing that both Bobby Cox and Joe Torre have in common, that
got him called, strike 3.
good curveball by Stanton. Good pitch by Mike Stanton to pick up that 3rd strike. Bobby Cox says, why can't we get a curveball called a strike? And you might see the difference. This one's definitely high enough as it drops over the outside corner for call strike 3. And Joe Torre's back out to the mound. He's going to make another pitching change. There's the strikeout call on Hernandez. 2nd out of the inning for the Braves. And that is the 12th Brave to strike out in this game tonight.
Howard, yeah, that's a ton of them. Howard Battle announced as the pinch hitter.
It's an 8-inning game. It's an 8-inning race for the Yankees. If they get to the 9th inning and they're winning, they beat you. I mean, it's as close to automatic as anything. You know, when you have the AL MVP, probable AL MVP, and Rafael Palmeiro come out in a playoff-type atmosphere and say that's the first time all season I felt that I had no chance when I walked up to the plate, that ought to tell you what kind of stuff he's got.
And he comes in with a strike to Keith Lockhart, who's announced as the pinch hitter for Battle, who never got to the plate. So Lockhart up, runner at first. There are now 2 down. Rivera on for the 6th time in the postseason, and no chance on that one.
Whoa. 94 miles an hour and moving in on the hands of Keith Lockhart. This is ever in history. How about Babe Ruth? Babe Ruth 0.87, minimum 30 innings, 0.42. Best earned run average ever in the postseason.
1 ball, 2 strike count. Rivera 45 saves, tying a career high of 66 appearances. He was 45 of 49 in saves. Foul back by Lockhart, and a 1 ball, 2 strike count. Rivera just mows you down.
Last time he blew a save, but temperature was a lot hotter than it was today. In fact, he blew it against the Atlanta Braves on July 16th at Yankee Stadium. Gave up a home run to Andrew Jones, who put the Braves ahead. On the 21st of July, he gave up another run in a ball game. He has not given up a run since July 21st.
Scary stuff. You're the opposition. 1-2, Lockhart down to first base. Easy play made. Tino Martinez, and that'll do it. So the Braves gone. No runs, no hits. 1 base runner left on with the walk. We're going to go to the 9th inning. Game 1 with the Yankees up 4-1. MasterCard. Thanks for joining us, wherever you may be in this itty-bitty world of ours. This is Turner Field in Atlanta, Georgia, where the Yankees are trying to put away Game 1. They've got the 4-1 lead with the uprising in the 8th inning. 4 runs, 2 earned off the start of Greg Maddux. And the Atlanta fans have seen very little offense in this game. 1 hit off Hernandez, Nelson, Stanton, and Rivera. Mike Remlinger now out of the bullpen for Atlanta.
Remlinger, you look at his postseason record, had an excellent regular season for the Atlanta Braves, and you mentioned he's been around a long time, but left-handers have a tendency to stick around as long as you can throw the ball somewhere near home plate. Left-handed pitching a rarity, and if you have a successful season like Remlinger did, you can see the Braves with the 1 run on the 1 hit. Chipper Jones home run, the only run that the Braves had that came in the 4th inning.
Chad Curtis, first ball, hitting to right field. Brian Jordan. 1 away, 1 pitch in the 9th inning.
Chuck Knobloch coming to the plate, and he represents our MasterCard priceless moment. 2 on, nobody out, the bunt. Sometimes little things mean a lot, and they did there. The error, the bases were loaded, nobody out. The Yankees went on to score 4 runs from that point.
2 errors in the inning by Brian Hunter, the first baseman. Helped launch the inning. Hunter, as we've mentioned, came in for defensive purposes, taking Ryan Klesko's place, and ended up committing the 2 errors.
Well, his nickname becomes a misnomer. Brian Big Game Hunter.
Chuck Knobloch, Brett Boone at second base. 2 down. So the Yankees, the RBIs, 2 by O'Neill on the single in the 8th inning with the bases loaded. Jeter an RBI single, and the bases loaded walk to Leyritz for the other RBI. 2 away. Derek Jeter coming up, got that hit in the 8th and scored a run. Hernandez stays in the ball game at shortstop for Walt Weiss. 2 down, nobody on. Outside for a ball. Game 2 right back here tomorrow night in Atlanta. Hope you'll join us at 7:30 Eastern for the post-game activities as the all-century team will be introduced, and all of the living members of that team expected to be here in Atlanta for a once-in-a-lifetime joining of the game's great players. Swung on a miss, 2-1.
Jeter had a career-high 24 home runs this year. It looked like he was going for the pump on that one, as the players like to say. Big swings sometimes do not connect, and you end up feeling foolish.
2-1 delivery by Rivera. Up high with that one, and 2-2. Yankees are trying for their 118th World Series win. They're trying for their 25th World Series championship. More times here, more times winning it, and any other franchise in baseball history. 2-2 inside, and the count goes full to Jeter. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
If the Yankees win this game, it would be their 9th consecutive, and there's the owner, George Steinbrenner, 9th consecutive World Series win. The last time they lost a World Series game was in 1996 to the Braves, the 2nd game of the series.
2-out walk given up. Jeter is on. The 9th World Series for the Atlanta Braves, who in their history have won 3 of the previous 8. Now with a runner at first base, Paul O'Neill with the 2 RBIs off a single in the 8th inning will stand in with 2 down.
Gary, remember the conclusion of last year's World Series when they presented George Steinbrenner with the...
Got him picked off at first. Jeter, the tag put on by Hernandez. It'll go as a caught stealing. 1-3-6. The Braves down to 3 outs in game 1 will have the top of the order coming up in the 9th inning. Gary Thorne and Ken Singleton. Joe Torre's club with a 4-1 lead with those 4 runs in the 8th inning. El Duque, Orlando, or Hernandez with a chance to go 5-0 in the postseason.
I was trying to make a point before Jeter got picked off about George Steinbrenner and the Yankees game. Gary, you remember the conclusion of last year's World Series when George Steinbrenner was holding the World Series trophy, and they asked him about keeping the team together. And the question was Bernie Williams going to be back with the team? George went out and spent the money, but his answer was interesting. He said, "I'm not through winning yet," which means he was going to do everything he could to keep the team together, and he went out and got up the bucks to keep Bernie Williams, a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract.
It's made a difference. Williams, Knobloch makes the throw, which is not as easy as it sounds, and there's one away in the 9th inning.
First ground ball to Chuck Knobloch tonight. Now, he's had throwing problems. You might have noticed his motion. It's not what you would see from Brett Boone. Been no problem for Chuck Knobloch catching the ball. It's throwing. Joe Torre said he's concerned that there might be something wrong with his shoulder, but it hasn't been confirmed by Chuck.
1 down, 9th inning. Brett Boone up. Rivera looking for the save. Boone will foul it off. Mariano Rivera, this is his 8th World Series game. He has 3 World Series saves. 0-2 count on Boone. That's going to be a base hit into right field off the fist. So Boone picks up just the 2nd hit in the ball game for Atlanta.
The last time the Braves saw Rivera in a relief role in the World Series, he was a setup man for John Wetland, who was the closer. Base hit through the hole splits the difference between Martinez and Knobloch, and the Braves, they need to get at least one more man on to bring the tying run to the plate against Rivera.
Looks like a fishing expedition to Alaska. Chipper Jones, the home run, the only run up there, and Rivera inside to him. So the Braves trying to do the impossible here, mount a rally against Rivera in the 9th. Inside, ball 2.
One reason it's hard to get a rally against Rivera, he does not walk many people. He throws strikes coming out of the bullpen time and time again.
2-0 count. Chipper taking, and it's inside. 3 balls and no strikes.
Rivera thought that was a strike, and so did Posada.
He'll be taking here, and he walked him on 4 straight. So the Braves in the bottom of the 9th will get the potential tying run to the plate in the person of their cleanup batter, their owner Ted Turner, with a double chop going. George doesn't seem to be joining in.
That has made Mariano Rivera so effective. Not only does he throw in the mid-90s, but he has a little movement on his fastball that goes away from right-handers and in on the hands of left-handers. He has broken more bats than any late-inning reliever. You might hit it, but you're not going to hit it hard.
Brian Jordan takes a strike on the outside corner. Jordan has had the 0 for 3 in this game. 1 for 1, and the only time he faced Mariano Rivera in his career. Rivera the 0-1. Jordan fouled it straight back.
It's interesting about Jordan that he came up with the St. Louis Cardinals when Joe Torre was their manager. And a couple of times Joe had to send him back to the minor leagues. He was just coming to the major leagues and really didn't have the experience. He'd spent most of his time as a football player, and every time that Joe set him down, he threatened to go back to playing football. Joe says, now I wish he had.
Swung on and missed. The 13th Atlanta Brave to strike out. The second K for Rivera. 2 down in the 9th inning.
Here's that little movement on the pitch. It looks like a slider. As Jordan reaches out to get it, it moves away from the bat. And there's the strikeout.
Rivera 1 out away. Greg Myers, backup catcher, comes on as the pinch hitter against Rivera. 2 down, 2 on. That's a fister to third. Brocious, and this game's history. The New York Yankees come back with 4 runs in the 8th inning and take game 1 of the '99 World Series 4-1 against the Atlanta Braves.
It's going to be our Pepsi play of the game. And it's Paul O'Neill with the infield drawn in, a 2-run single that put the Yankees in the lead. That's our Pepsi play of the game.
Orlando Hernandez gets the win. He's now 5-0 in postseason play, 2-0 in World Series play. Maddox the loss. He is 1-2 in his career in the World Series. And the 4th career World Series save for Rivera, a 4-1 win for the Yankees here in game 1. Sellout crowd on end, 51,342. Game 2 tomorrow, right back here, 7:30 Eastern, 11:30 Greenwich Mean Time. The Yankees and Braves game 2 with a half-hour special pregame show. We'll show you baseball's century team to be introduced here at Turner Field. Cool crowd tonight, and the Yankees cool the Atlanta Braves. Game 1, 4-6-0 for New York, 1-2-2 for Atlanta. 2 unearned runs because of those 2 errors by Hunter. Warren Spahn throwing out the first pitch. The left-hander used to play for the Braves at Boston and Milwaukee. But Joe Torre's Yankees behind El Duque. He got Chipper Jones early. Jones would get a home run, but it would not hold up. Maddox looked like he was going to be able to hold him down, and did through 7. Chipper Jones with that long ball. That stayed on the board from the 4th inning on, giving Atlanta that 1-0 lead. He played it in the field as well. Maddox was getting ground ball outs and strikeouts as he picked up 5 in the game. But the 8th inning, bases loaded, Paul O'Neill, a 2 RBI single. Jeter the other RBI and a bases loaded walk to Leyritz, and the Yankees got the win, and Rocker wasn't happy. For Ken Singleton and all of our crew, I'm Gary Thorne. We'll see you back here in Atlanta.